BBC News. Hello, I'm Eileen McHugh. The majority of over 16,000 official documents about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963 have been released in full for the first time. The White House said the release of the documents would provide the public with greater understanding. Nomia Iqbal reports.
The constant delays to release information have fueled wild conspiracy theories for decades. And although many files on JFK's murder have slowly been made public since 1963, not all of them have. President Biden has now ordered the National Archives to release in full 70% of 16,000 documents which had previously been released in redacted form. He's holding back the remainder for security reasons, saying they're still under review. Historians will be disappointed by that and are hoping the documents that are released will have more information on the assassin Lee Harvey Oswald.
Tens of thousands of protesters have rallied in the Turkish city of Istanbul to condemn the conviction and political ban of the mayor. Ekrem İmamoğlu, a rival to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, was sentenced to prison for insulting public officials. Speaking in central Istanbul, Mr. İmamoğlu was defiant.
Millions of people are mobilizing, standing up for democracy and freedom. People are standing up for rightfulness, law and justice. I put my trust in you, my dear fellow citizens, because 3 years ago you were the ones to knock down twice those who wanted to set a barrier to your will.
The verdict has drawn widespread criticism in Turkey and beyond. The US State Department said it was deeply troubled and disappointed by the unjust sentence. The Ukrainian government says Russia is planning a broad new offensive early in the new year. Ukraine has significantly improved its air defences against Russian missiles with Western support, but is calling for more advanced weaponry. More details from Ian McWilliam.
President Zelensky, the Defence Minister Oleksiy Reznikov and two senior generals have all spoken to British media in recent days. While they're bullish about Ukraine's recent military successes, they say there's no room for complacency and predict a new Russian offensive, possibly as early as January. Mr. Reznikov said that Moscow's mobilization of 300,000 conscripts, though widely derided, would provide Moscow with freshly trained troops by the early months of next year. Military experts say the pace of operations on both sides is likely to increase in midwinter when the ground is frozen, allowing easier movement for vehicles.
The European Union has officially made Bosnia and Herzegovina a candidate for membership. It follows a meeting of the European Council in Brussels. A BBC correspondent says Brussels is reaffirming its often doubted commitment to the Western Balkans while nudging Bosnian politicians towards necessary political reforms. You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. Peru's newly appointed foreign minister has summoned home ambassadors from several Latin American countries whose leaders have criticised last week's ousting of the former Peruvian president Pedro Castillo. On Monday, Argentina, Bolivia, Colombia and Mexico issued a joint statement declaring Mr. Castillo a victim of undemocratic harassment after he was impeached by Peru's opposition-controlled Congress and then arrested. Cuba, Venezuela and Nicaragua also rejected Mr. Castillo's replacement. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo has said neighbouring Burkina Faso has invited in mercenaries from the Russian firm Wagner. He revealed this during a meeting with the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and described the development as distressing. More details from Will Ross.
President Nana Akufo-Addo said Russian mercenaries were on Ghana's northern border. He said he understood that the Wagner Group had been offered a mine in southern Burkina Faso as a form of payment for services, presumably fighting Islamist militants. In a video of the meeting with the US Secretary of State, Mr. Akufo-Addo described the development as particularly worrying, seeing as Ghana strongly condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine. He spoke of the dangerous proliferation of coups in West Africa, adding that there were enemies of democracy working hard in the region.
India says tests carried out on Indian-made cough syrups linked to the deaths of nearly 70 children in the Gambia have shown no contamination. The World Health Organization had earlier said initial tests of 4 products found unacceptable levels of potentially toxic chemicals. The children died from acute kidney failure after taking the medicines produced by Maiden Pharma. A Sudanese woman who was condemned to death by stoning for adultery has had her sentence reduced to 6 months in prison. Mariam Terab was found guilty of the offence by a court in White Nile State in June after she confessed to kissing her boyfriend. Following an international outcry, a retrial was ordered. BBC News.